Hi, I'm Victor Lambs, and you're listening to the Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. Joining me today are Jeff Hecker. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Victor.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Victor.
And today we are discussing the 4th episode of Season 3 of Stargate Atlantis, Sateda. In this episode, Ronon Dex is captured by the Wraith and returned to his homeworld, Sateda, where he is forced to participate in a deadly ritual hunt as a runner. The episode reveals Ronon's tragic past, showing how the Wraith destroyed his civilization and made him a hunted fugitive for years. The Atlantis team, led by Colonel Shepard, mounts a rescue mission to save Ronon, confronting both the Wraith and Ronon's painful memories. Through intense action sequences and emotional flashbacks, the episode explores themes of resilience, loyalty, and confronting one's past, culminating in Ronon's stand against his former tormentor with the support of his new allies. What did you think of this episode, Lisa?
This was, I hadn't realized we hadn't really gotten much into Ronon's past. It pretty much was Ronon was the guy who can shoot all the Wraith, and we're fine with that. So I actually enjoyed it. It was a lot more emotional content from him than what I would expect. But the shoot 'em up stuff was really, really great. You can tell they used a ton of budget here. And I love the way the team rallied and that Colonel Shepard obeyed his orders, and then unlikely duo came to his rescue at the end. That was good. So it was really kind of an interesting, exciting one to watch. And Jason Momoa really shined. Anyway, he did really well here.
Awesome. What did you think of this episode, Jeff?
Yeah, I really like this one. It's, like you said, Lisa, we don't really get much of Ronon's backstory, and I don't think we really get many more Ronon-centric episodes, if I'm not mistaken. So I like that we got it finally, because he'd been on for a little bit over a season now, and it had like you said as well, it had the great action both in the flashbacks, and then the current day of him kind of going running man and fighting against these Wraith as they're trying to hunt him down and doing his best, die hard to take them all out. And it also had some good moral quandaries, I thought, with Ronon going to the planet, he realizing he'd been to this planet before and they helped him and were punished by the Wraith, and and realizing that, and then them saying, if we made a deal that if you come back we'll turn you in, and Ronon ultimately trying to just protect his family, because that's something he really hadn't had in a long time. And I also like the debate on, should we use the Daedalus and risk the ship for one person and risk more lives. But I like that they were able to compromise, and Caldwell's has been softening a bit, which I like. He's becoming kind of more part of the team and not really kind of a gruff military guy that everyone's going up against. And yeah, I like that we saw kind of Ronon's backstory finally with Sateda and his girlfriend, and yeah, it was a good episode.
Excellent. Yeah, this is definitely a memorable episode. It's one that I remember from the first time I watched Atlantis and the subsequent watch-throughs. It was written and directed by Robert C. Cooper, who was one of the creators of Atlantis, was mainly showrunning SG-1, and Brad Wright was showrunning Atlantis. But Robert C. Cooper kind of crossed over and wrote and directed this episode. And it was the most expensive single episode, I believe, up until this point. He mentioned on the commentary, he wrote a very ambitious script, with all these action set pieces, and then took it to Brad Wright, and Brad Wright, he's expecting to say, trim it down here or something, but Brad Wright said, no, do your best and just shoot it as it is. And so within the constrained shooting schedule that an episode of Stargate has, which is about 7 days, and, they were only on some of the locations 3 days, so had to do very full days of filming to get the shots that they needed. It's very effective, as really they thought of it as an action movie. So it's kind of very effective as an action movie. As an episode of Stargate Atlantis, it doesn't really feel, like an episode of Stargate Atlantis, even though we get some very good character moments in it. when they got to the end of season 2 of Atlantis, they were thinking, what are we doing right and what can we do more of? And they thought that they were getting the action adventure moments right. But as a team, what people really liked about SG1 was the team dynamic and the fact that, there are all these great team moments mixed in with the action. And so we do get quite a few of those in this episode as well. Lots of humorous beats, some good moments between Colonel Shepard and Taylor and Rodney and Dr. Beckett. So I think those work very well. I think the action sequences are good, maybe a bit cliched. Robert C. Cooper wanted to basically experiment with every kind of film stock and, recording medium possible. So we have, the full HD digital video. We have some stuff that was shot with like a camcorder. We have some stuff that was shot with a film camera. And then we get in some of the flashbacks, the hand-cranked Bolex camera, which is like a 1950s, 16 millimeter movie camera that they used probably most memorably on SG1 Memento when Colonel Mitchell is having his flashbacks due to the memory device. So the flashbacks here are filmed in a mixture of HD, DV, and the hand cranked 16 millimeter camera. So very ambitious. I think it works overall. I really appreciate the team moments. And the action set pieces, a lot of really good stunt work on this episode. Most of which was done by Jason Momoa himself. We'll get into it, but when he, does his hero jumping across the hallway and firing, both guns, that was him. Bruised himself up pretty bad. Some of the later stuff where the Wraith is throwing him into the wall or throwing him into a post or a beam, that was a stunt person who got beat up pretty bad as well, doing some of those stunts. But overall, a very good episode.
He definitely showed. You don't watch this and think, "Wow, how did this guy become a movie action hero guy?" Because you see it. I forget how young he was when he did this, but you see it in this episode, and he did it really well. It's pretty flawless watching it on screen for a TV show.
Yeah, and they, in addition to the action, which he does really well, there's a moment where he has his the Wraith are attacking him in a giant warehouse, and he has all of his different guns laid out in strategic positions on the floor, and at one point he has a shotgun and he kicks it up with his foot and cocks it and then shoots. That was something he was working on. James Bamford is the stunt coordinator. And I think did some of the fight scenes with Ronon as well, which we'll talk about. He was practicing that in between takes, like during the whole shoot, like kicking it up and then cocking it. And then Brad Wright at one point, asked Robert C. Cooper, it's like, Ronon is this soldier, right? Why wouldn't he just leave his shotgun, with the round, already chambered? Why does he need to cock it in the middle of the fight? And Robert C. Cooper said, he's been practicing it so much, it looks so cool. We don't want to cut it out.
He's just practicing gun safety, not leaving one in
not
leaving one in the chamber.
There could be little Wraith kids running around.
Yeah.
But yeah, we start off, not SG1. The Atlantis team is exploring a planet, that quickly turns hostile on them, and they look like they're kind of dressed up like, Celtic people, but they're shooting arrows at them. Rodney takes an arrow in the butt. And then everybody else gets, blow darted and tranquilized, and they wake up and they've been captured. And it turns out, these people have a grudge against Ronon because, and we've heard about this before, that maybe not in this particular case, but if a runner stays in a village, for more than an hour or two, the Wraith will track them and then punish that village. And that's what happened here. After they took care of Ronon for a day or two, they returned and called the planet, including the chieftain's daughter, the chieftain Keturah, who is played by Frank Collison, who is a very recognizable actor. He's been in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and tons of other things. And they definitely hold a grudge against Ronon for that.
As they should. Right?
Yeah.
It's fun about this. We kind of saw an episode like this with SG1. It was Korai, and I can't remember if that was first season, second season, third season, but it was Teal'c, and same kind of thing.
First
they went
season,
to first season. They went to a village where he was recognized and they imprisoned him and he had to go to trial. And so this idea of this isn't new, but what I really liked was the way they handled it. You had Shepard and Taylor and Rodney, like fight them. I mean, you realize there was no top to that jail cell.
Yeah.
And the wood was so far apart. Like regular Ronan could have gotten out of there. But what we saw instead was this intense like guilt and kind of moral quandary that he felt bad for all these things that he had brought upon this village for being a runner. And so right from the gate, I feel like they gave us the moral issue that he was facing, and he wasn't just going to blast his way out of everything and fight everybody. So you knew it was going to take a turn. But I appreciated seeing that because, like you said, you don't see a lot of introspection from Ronan. He's pretty much the guy just there to fight the Wraith.
Yeah, and they did realize they were asking a lot of Jason Momoa in some of the dramatic scenes where he really hadn't done a lot of dramatic scenes up until that point, and so they weren't really sure how how it was going to come across on the screen, especially the one where in the prison Ronan pulls a knife on himself and says, if you don't let my friends go, I'll kill myself, and then you'll have a dead runner and the Wraith won't be happy. And he pulls that off very well. Both as an actor and dramatically, because the villagers do let the rest of the Atlantis team leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Shepard didn't try to say, "Hey, if you let us go, you can come with us, and we'll relocate you or whatever." Because that's usually kind of what they do. They'll let anyone back to Atlantis, and especially their people they're trying to help, and they could have, kind of like they did with the Athosians or whatever. But so that was. Of course, it's for the dramatic effect of the Wraith coming back later, but I did have that thought of, you always offer to bring, resettle people, and you didn't do it here. So I thought that was interesting. And I don't know if it was just because of the drama or if there was, some kind of story reason that they weren't. I mean, the people probably wouldn't have come because they're, people are proud and want to stay in their home, but.
Plus they're really upset.
Don't want to trust people with Ronan. Right.
Yeah. But they did shoot Rodney before, and Rodney got through the gate. So,
yeah, we get a lot of. I do remember that because that's one of the main sources of humor is Rodney has been shot in the butt, and then Carson has to take care of him, overdoses him on morphine, which we get some funny David Hewlett moments there.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the rest of the episode, he until the very end, he can't sit down because obviously the pain is too much. So when we see him later in his lab trying to figure out where the, and we'll get to this, where the Wraith have taken Ronan, he's laying face down on the floor using his computer. So if you've ever had back pain or anything like that and tried to work while sitting in a chair, you do come up with some creative postures for working on your laptop.
It was fun because it wasn't too over the top. It didn't take over the episode, but it was nice. I like the way they juxtapose, the seriousness of what Ronan's going through, and then they have the lighthearted moments back at the base while they're trying to figure out what's going on. So it was nice. It was very complimentary.
I don't remember the character's name, but they have the Marine, leader trying to get intel out of Rodney and just get very like, how many of them were there? What were they armed with? And Rodney is being very unhelpful, as he is just completely high on morphine.
Yeah. I've had morphine before. Like, I don't remember being loopy like that. So maybe I have to ask my family. When I broke my ribs, that's what they gave me, but I don't remember being crazy.
Well, he did say he had to dope him up quite a bit, so.
Yeah. Because he's such a baby about it. And, I don't know, Rodney might be a lightweight too. We did see him, overdose on the Wraith and enzyme in Lost Boys and go completely, off the deep end there as well.
That is true.
So the Atlantis team escapes and turns right around and goes back to the planet, but it's only been half an hour or so, but that is enough time for the Wraith to have returned and captured Ronan and completely wiped out the village. So Frank Collison will not be returning to the show.
Yeah, unless it's a different character.
Yeah, that's true.
I appreciated the fact that they moved so quickly on this.
Mhm.
You know, you realize that this storyline, this part of it, isn't the main chunk of the episode, right? The A plot moved very quickly. So they get back to Atlantis, they turn around really fast, they go back, he's gone, and then they have to figure out where did he go. And all of that, I didn't look at the timestamp, but all of that feels like it happened pretty fast. And then they figured out where he was, and then off they go.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they need to track them, and Rodney finds, they still have Ronan's old tracker and the Wraith, which interestingly, maybe we'll talk about this now. It's not a Wraith queen. It's actually like a guy Wraith who's in charge of this hive ship, which coincidentally is also the hive ship that laid waste to Sateda. So, and captured Ronan and made him a runner. So there's definitely a personal grudge there, which Ronan is able to leverage later in the episode. But Rodney is able to reactivate the previous tracker, and interestingly enough, there's like 7 or 8 runners in the Pegasus galaxy. So I think it would be cool. I don't think they do this, to like kind of revisit that and say, hey, these runners are really good at fighting the Wraith. Maybe monitor the dots for a while and see which one lasts like a month or two, and then like go recruit those people as extra Ronins. But
that would have been an interesting storyline.
Yeah, I don't think they come back to that really. So,
because I didn't think about it. Now they can track them too.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that is interesting.
And but they quickly figure out that the one planet that Ronan's on is going to be Sateda, which is Ronan's homeworld. So, good work by Rodney there. And we're off to Sateda, where Ronan has been, beamed down from the hive ship, and realizes that he's now the running man, or the runner, and has to run. And it is, this movie is, this section is kind of like the movie The Running Man, in a lot of respects. We get very specialized Wraith who are tracking him. The first one is kind of night vision Wraith.
Yeah.
He has these goggles, and you're like, oh, cool, those are like night vision goggles. But then the Wraith takes off the goggles, and I guess his eyes are like thermal vision or something, which most Wraith don't have predator vision like that. But this one does.
Gave us a nice action sequence.
Yeah.
In the dark.
Yeah. And the really cool thing about that, it was completely filmed in pitch black.
Oh, really?
So it's James Bamford, who is the stunt coordinator, fighting with Jason Momoa in complete darkness. And so they choreographed the scene, rehearsed it, and then filmed it. And the Wraith, James Bamford, the stunt coordinator, is wearing like a thermal or night vision pencil cam on his head. And so that's how we get a lot of the first person shots of Jason Momoa attacking him. And the scene is only lit by the squibs and the blasts going off from the blaster. So when we do see flashes of the action, it's because it's actually being lit by the special effects that are being used on set there.
That was pretty cool. I mean, it was a good way to start off the action sequence because it was interesting. I liked that.
Yeah, it wasn't just the mindless, faceless drones that you get that he's fighting. You get various, like you said, various different like specialized Wraith, or at least a couple. And you get the main Wraith leader is like kind of a pirate looking guy a little bit. So
yeah, he is
pirate Wraith.
Yar. But yeah, I guess before that, Ronan goes to his home where he lived and makes kind of an improvised sword with some rubble and a piece of metal or glass or something. And that's his first weapon that he uses there. So I do like how we're going to various locations that were important to Ronan. First his home, and then the sewers that go to the hospital where his wife or girlfriend worked. And in the flashback, we do get some, I forget the name of the episode now, where Ronan kills the former leader of Sateda. But we do get some references to how the person is corrupt, only wants to escape, and is willing to sacrifice, his people in order to escape. And there's some interesting dialogue there about how, both Ronan and his special lady friend recognize that the chieftain is immoral, but his girlfriend / wife believes that, she needs to stay at the hospital to take care of the wounded, and maybe if they put up enough of a fight, the Wraith will leave them alone, which, as we know, never happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what did you think of the flashback scenes? We get some more of them later on. Were they effective at filling in Ronan's backstory, or did they feel tacked on in any way?
I thought they were effective and pretty good, and because like we said, we haven't really gotten much of his backstory other than he was on a planet that was cold, and so this really puts a face to, the seemingly the one person that he loved, because I don't think we ever really, and I think later on in the show we meet some other Satedans that he knew, but this is the first, kind of the only person that he really cared for that we know of. So I thought it was effective seeing that interspersed with his Running Man stuff, and you get a sense that she was like he just wanted to get her safely off because he pulled strings to get her on the leader's staff so she could go through the gate with them, although he probably wouldn't have let her through the gate. He probably would have just pushed her off to the side and run through or something. But,
yeah.
So I thought it was effective in showing kind of the person he was with and how she may have affected him.
Yeah, and I like how it explains why he hates the chieftain so much in the previous episode. Lisa?
I really liked seeing the slice of his life. So we only know Ronan as this, I don't know, kind of rough guy that, has been running from the Wraith all this time. And so to see him, like his hair pulled back and in a uniform, and, just even his demeanor was different, just a little more, calm and put together. And so it really shows you the transition that he's been through in these last however many years of running. So he was one guy, and then this experience changed him into something else. And now he just, fights for his life all the time. And it gave you that emotional connection. And I think you needed that to understand. I think the episode would have, I don't want to say fallen a little flat if you hadn't given Ronan some emotional depth here, because otherwise it just would have been another like shoot 'em up episode. Wraith bad, I've got to survive. Okay. You're going to live. Okay, well, let's just get on with it. But I think giving us that tie-in, it just gives us a little more piece of Ronan. It makes us care more about him. So I liked that. And it's funny when you said earlier about they realized after season 2 that they needed to find more of that team connection. I hadn't thought about that from the Atlantis perspective, but now that you say that, I keep thinking about it. And like, you're right, because that is what over and over, I think people liked about SG-1 so much. We've talked about it to death, is that the team component. And we've got moments, here on Atlantis, but we haven't had a lot of it tying together. So I appreciated we got Ronan's backstory.
Yeah, a lot of the action on Atlantis is more centered around the ensemble cast. You have Weirs, Alenka, you have all these peripheral characters, and they do split up the team a lot. Like Rodney's off doing something, while Shepard is off doing something else, and Taylor may or may not even be in the episode, that sort of thing.
And it's all centered on Shepard. It's like Rodney and Shepard have a connection. Taylor and Shepard have, and I know they did that with Jack O'Neill and SG-1, but you don't hear the four of them. It's not like SG-1 where they're just like, we're SG-1 and we're going to go fight all the bad guys. So it's nice to see them with Beckett, go try to fight the bad guys for Ronan.
Yeah. We also see flashbacks of Ronan's old squad. They're not really important, except that he does find them later in the tunnels, and they're looking quite icky at this point. But he's able to grab their armor and the weapons from the weapons cache that they were headed towards when they were, killed by the Wraith. And we have, kind of the Wraith drone, which is kind of effective. It allows Ronan to communicate with the Wraith leader through, the video link. And it gives Ronan a chance to blow it up with a grenade and do his hero walk away from the explosion. While sparks are going off. And actually, the sparks going off were from the light fixture falling down, which they hadn't planned, but the explosion was just Robert C. Cooper said he lost temporarily hearing in one of his ears just from all the explosions on this episode. Yeah. Because there are a lot of them, which is good. I like explosions. So he takes out another Wraith, and then he goes to his warehouse where he's ambushed by a whole bunch of Wraith, and that blows up too. And so he has to go to the hospital to take the chunk of debris out of his leg and do his little Rambo, thing. And, it's in the hospital. He has more flashbacks. There was a girl that he was trying to save. I don't know what happens to her. Probably nothing good because Ronon is, as we know in the past, captured by the Wraith and made into a runner. So, and, that's when, the Atlantis team says we have to go rescue him. Colonel Caldwell, I thought, was they regressed his character a little bit. I think they made him too stern, where he just does not want to go. The Daedalus is still being fixed. And Shepard even accuses him of, oh, he's not a member of the U.S. military. That's why you don't want to rescue him type thing, which I thought was a little over the line. I thought Caldwell had some good points about we don't do too well with a damaged Daedalus against the hive ships lately. So,
right.
But they quickly come up with a plan where they'll get the Daedalus close, and then they'll take a cloaked puddle jumper around and try to find him.
Which kind of was I guess that's what bothered about Caldwell. It felt kind of forced because rather than saying, okay, let's think through this and let's come up with a better plan, he's just like, no.
The risk reward ratio isn't there. Yeah.
That's not how we do things. And I don't think that's how the U.S. military just does things either. Nah, we're good.
Yeah.
It did give us a nice moment with Taylor, though. Then when she says she realized that the lengths that they'll go to for, her or Ronon, because, they're not from their world, they're not military, they're not whatever. And so it was a nice little moment. And hopefully Taylor's realized that before third season.
Yeah. Yeah, considering the efforts they've gone through to rescue her from the Wraith and everything.
Yeah.
But it was a nice scene in the Daedalus mess hall with Shepard and Taylor, where he's saying, I have trouble expressing my, and she's filling in the gaps like feelings, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, I guess you can say I don't have, and she's like, friends, and he's like, what? No, I have friends.
It kind of reminded you of first season. They did that, not to that extent, but they had that little repertoire between them first season. It was nice to kind of see it come back. It was very fun.
Yeah, that was a very nice scene. And then in the Daedalus sick bay, Rodney and Dr. Beckett get a scene where, Rodney is saying how close he and Ronon are, and Dr. Beckett's like, have you even had a conversation? And I was like, they were trapped in a Wraith ship for a day, like 2 episodes ago, and they had a pretty long conversation then. Granted, it was, we're all going to die. No, we're not, type stuff. But I thought a callback, to that would have been nice. But it's another nice scene. And then later on,
bond we have.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, later in the puddle jumper where they're fighting over the big machine gun about who's going to go down and rescue Ronon. Because, that was good too. And then in the end, they both do, which I thought was nice.
Yeah. Well, I just love it because they're arguing. And by the time they're done, they're all dead. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, because 25 Wraith are converging on the hospital where Ronon is, and then Shepard and Taylor show up and say, we're going to help you. And Shepard makes the decision rather than just escaping, they're going to take out all the Wraith because that'll get the main Wraith King, Pirate King, down to the hospital for a one-on-one fight with Ronon.
He also made it sound like it was because it would be fun, right?
Yeah, shooting Wraith is what we do type thing, which they're very cavalier about shooting Wraith now. The first Wraith they captured, it took like 2 teams. They almost all died just to capture one Wraith. But now they're going to take out 25 of them, and then they have some little, scorekeeping about who's shooting more Wraith.
Yeah, Shepard definitely had some issues about Taylor doing better than him, for sure.
Yeah, he keeps increasing the amount of Wraith that he killed every time it comes up. But, Ronon says, if you kill him, the head Wraith, before I do, I'll kill you. And Shepard says, well, what if he kills you? And then Ronan says, then you kill him, type thing.
Yeah.
And, later on, Shepard and Taylor are up on the roof and have a clean shot at the Wraith King, but won't take it because not so much out of concern that Ronan would kill them, but Taylor says, he'd never forgive you if you just shot this. And so we get a one-on-one fight between the Wraith King and Ronan, which is a really good fight sequence because, the Wraith are very strong and he's tossing Ronan around like a rag doll, basically. And things look bad for Ronan and I really like this ending, the puddle jumper decloaks, and Beckett says something like, well, if he doesn't like it, that's his problem. And thinks, and a drone comes flying out and hits the Wraith and like drags him across the set, and he explodes. They wanted a big, death for the main bad guy. And so, or as he was referred to in the script, Big Bad Wraith, I think was his name in the script. And
it's pretty dramatic.
Yeah. And then we get a nice scene in the puddle jumper afterwards, where they think Ronan's going to be mad, but really he's just so grateful for all of his friends. And
they're arguing over who. They're trying to argue to Ronan, like, oh no, it was Beckett. No, it was McKay, and they finally settle on, or Beckett finally, or McKay convinces him it's Beckett, and then he just grabs him a big hug, saying thank you.
I love that.
McKay lost the glory there.
Yeah. And, Beckett goes to remove the tracking device and says, I trust you, let me use some sedative this time. And Ronan just passes out.
They've really brought Beckett into the fold as a main character. And you just love seeing him with the team. And it makes it harder. But they really, this episode, the ending with Beckett too, but just shows them the family and the connection and the team. And so I think they succeeded in what they were trying to, I'm assuming what they were trying to do with this episode was, give us Ronan backstory, give us a nice shoot 'em up, lots of explosion episode, and, kind of give us a team feel good moment or moments. And so in my mind, they succeeded in all that, as well as, giving us creepy Wraith guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the first time we've seen a male Wraith in charge of a hive ship, although we do learn later on that it's some hive ships don't have queens. And as a result, they probably go on personal vendettas rather than working for the greater good of the hive.
So my question was, is this Wraith ship, because of this guy was, so are the runners kind of just a personal sporting thing that this Wraith ship, this one guy does, or is it across the, is it normal, or is this guy just on his own, kind of doing his own thing for fun?
That's a really good question. Again, I'll go back to, I think it's just without a queen, the hive ships just don't function very well.
He doesn't focus.
And doesn't focus on what the actual mission is.
He's like, my belly's full, so let's have fun.
He just wants to live out the most dangerous game over and over again. But yeah.
Yeah, that's probably right. It could be too. I could come up with a headcanon of maybe it's like if you're a Wraith that rises to a certain rank, you can, one of your privileges is you get some playtime and you can, pick a human to be a runner too. So it could be some aspect of that, even if you have a queen or not, like maybe you get the privilege of, you get to have a runner that you get to chase around. So
we work hard and we play hard.
There we go. Yeah. He just needed to have like a beer or something and back in his chair watching the video.
Which I like the Wraith video screen. It's kind of like, water or something that they projected, the video onto, so that he can very dramatically walk through it. I like the sets in this. The hospital set was the mental hospital that they've filmed in before, redressed a little bit. And then the city was a place called Terminal City, which I don't know if it's still around anymore or not, but it was a place where they could shoot and bring in a bunch of rubble to, make it look post-apocalyptic and decayed and stuff. So, but yeah, they didn't have a lot of, I think they only had 2 or 3 days to shoot on that set. So, the final fight sequence, it was like pouring, which actually worked out well for them. They said, it gave it kind of this everything was wet and gritty, and but all the actors were wet and cold, and all the crew was wet and cold as they were doing it. But yeah. Any final thoughts on this episode?
I was going to say last week was Irresistible, which was kind of an over-the-top, remember, like 90s sitcom-y kind of an episode. Lots of humor, and the characters were all out of character and all of that. And then this week, you get this mostly serious. I mean, they had fun moments, but, serious, gritty, like backstory. It just is you put those two together, it's almost like whiplash from one week to the next week. But I think that's kind of the fun of what they do is it's not the same every, they let themselves do different things. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, nothing else here other than, it's a good one, and had, like we said, good action, good story beats. And I don't remember the next Atlantis one, what comes up next, but it was kind of a nice like transition from Irresistible to this, from, like you said, kind of a little bit out of character, different kind of episode to more of, what we're kind of used to with Stargate. So it's a good one.
Excellent. Yeah, I liked it too. Most of the foreign language titles on this were just Sateda, but in French we did get face à face, which is face to face. Yeah, so that's I think I said that in Italian, but either way, so that's what we get here. All right. Well, we would like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate each week, including Cart, Stephen H., Cheryl G., Thomas S., and Corey N. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows on StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give, and be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on X at SQPN and on Discord at, Jeff, what's our Discord?
sqpn.com/Discord.
There you go. And we'll be back next time with our next episode of Stargate SG-1, Uninvited. Until then, Jeff Hecker, thank you for joining us and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Victor.
And Lisa Jones, thank you too.
Thanks, Victor.
And once again, I'm Victor Lambs. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest. And remember, so many colors, all the pretty horses.
Do that very well.
Thanks.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?